welcome back to another Calligrascape tutorial, and today we will be covering the 5 types of calligraphy. When I mean types, I mean 5 tool types that make these 5 kinds of calligraphy. And they each have a color for my practice sheets available in the link for each of the types. They are: blue is your pointed pen, purple is your brush, green, ruling pen, orange, hand lettering and handwriting, and red, black letter. So what we'll be covering is tools you can use, from the free versions to the expensive ones you actually have to buy. There are some options to make them yourself, and what kind of scripts you can make. So without further ado, here we go. First up is hand lettering and handwriting. The color is orange, so all practice sheets that have orange can be done with a monoline tool. So a monoline tool is something that can be written with just a point. So this is any pencil, this is any pen, this is any thing that has a singular point that can make a mark, chalk, all that good stuff. And that is good for handwriting and hand lettering. Handwriting is obviously just your standard cursive, which I don't even know if they teach it anymore. They used to teach it when I was growing up, and oh man, now I'm old. In Canada, at one point they decided to not. I don't know if that's still the case. But, so handwriting is one thing, and hand lettering is another. So hand lettering is more, let's just do a simple, the old block letters. Why did I pick H? Hand lettering is drawing letters, which takes many strokes, and handwriting is writing letters. However, I think they both fall into the category of calligraphy, because calligraphy just means the art of beautiful lettering. So whether you're writing it or you're drawing it, I still think it's beautiful, maybe not this age, or my handwriting, but the fact remains calligraphy, when done carefully, is beautiful. So hand lettering and handwriting I still count as a type of calligraphy, but with a little nuance that hand lettering is sketching or drawing letters, and handwriting is writing letters. This can be written with any monoline tool, which is your marker, pen, pencil. Very easy to get started. I have practice sheets in the description. I do have 3D lettering. I have 3 kinds of handwriting, and faux calligraphy, which is, faux is another word for fake. So what it does is try to mimic styles of calligraphy. Like for this one, this brush calligraphy, it's trying to emulate that by sketching it instead of writing it. Both beautiful in their own way, but yeah, just different. Next up is brush calligraphy, aka purple. Brush calligraphy, unlike the monoline tool, which is on the back of your standard Tombow, singular point doesn't vary at all. Now this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Brush can vary with pressure. So if I do a large amount of pressure, you get a thick stroke. If I do a light amount of pressure and just barely touch it, you have a thin stroke. So calligraphy is all about maximizing the contrast between these 2 strokes and making it as smooth as a change as possible. So if I want to make an O, you want to slowly adapt into a greater pressure and then reduce into a less amount of pressure. And then now you have an O. The adjustments in pressure allow you to write those beautiful letters. This is a Tombow brush pen. There are many kinds of brush pens, but there are free kinds of brushes. Obviously, paintbrush and paint, quite hard. I don't think you'll have the same kind of writing, but it is possible. I've seen people do it. But brush pen is supposed to simulate a paintbrush, but the difference is you have a little bit of elasticity. It goes back to where it should, where not all, well, this paintbrush does, but not every paintbrush will do that. So the best runner-up is a Crayola marker, or this off-brand one. You can simulate brush pen by using these Crayola markers, by tilting your pen, by rotating, and you can kind of get a bit thicker on one side than the other. It's not perfect. It's better than not having it, but I suggest having brush pens. There are many types. I just showed you the Tombow, which is, I think, what my practice sheets are based off of. If you are going to get a practice sheet on my store, you need one of these. But there are other ones that are more or less flexible. Like this is incredibly flexy. This is similar to your paintbrush. So it would be very more for Chinese calligraphy and stuff, but it is very, very hard to control, but also very, very cool because it leaves some streaks and there's more, there's actually brushes, unlike the Tombow. It's one like interestingly shaped marker. There's also the Fudenosuke. Maybe. There's hard and soft brushes, but it's very, very small letters. So if you're looking for journaling, this might be something to your liking because you can write really small letters, but very, very cool if you learn brush pen. There's a few styles that I teach so far. It's just casual, obviously modern. I'm working on some other stuff too, but that's what I have for now. And that is brush calligraphy. In a similar vein to brush calligraphy, the pointed pen operates under the same fact: the greater the pressure, the thicker the stroke, and the thinner the pressure, the thinner the stroke. So what makes these different? Well, the size is remarkably different. There are some brush pens that can be the same size as a pointed pen. I will list those. But notably, I differentiate them because there's different skills that come with a pointed pen. Ink management, nib care. There's just more maintenance with your pointed pen, and a lot more headaches that can happen with ink. But overall, you have a very small but very cool skill that is not commonly used anymore. And it is one of the harder things to learn for calligraphy for sure. Because even when you're having a good writing day, steady hands, you can have a day that the ink does not want to cooperate. There's not really a free version of this. Some people in the past, before we had metal nibs, we had feathered. This is a turkey feather. And I made a broad edge nib out of it, but I could not figure out a good way to get something to do this, like a similar pointed pen style, but some people have luck doing that. There are fountain pens that can write with your specific inks, but overall these would cost even more than your pointed pen. But that's just another way to do the same thing. You can write copperplate, you can write Spencerian, you got unsealed, so you can have those kind of scripts. It's not super beginner friendly, but it is something that if you practice at it, you can get way better, just like all of these things. So let's move on to the next one. Next up is ruling pen calligraphy. This is the new kid on the block. It is uses the folded pen or ruling pen. These are the premium versions or whatever, the ones that you'd have to buy. You can make your own. I have a video somewhere, either up here or down below, of how to make your own with an aluminum can. I have since lost that since moving, but yeah, it's made out of cola can and a stick. or you can modify a Pilot Parallel, which is a broad edge pen. I do not have a video for that, but essentially you take a sandpaper and grind it down until it is a shape that writes the way you want it to. Yeah, so those are the tools. Again, there's a free one by just making it out of a cola can or a pop can and a stick, and I have a video for that. But the rest of them, this is the modified one, modified Blackletter pen. It kind of writes really like a rough brush, like a rectangular brush. Kind of writing with like a rectangular brush in a way. It's very unique. That's why it's its own style, and probably why you haven't heard of it. And then the cool thing is when you write really fast, it leaves these nice, I missed the I on that, but that's fine. But you get this like very cool splattery, and you can also add your own splatters. It's cool texture. The ruling pen is super unique because it really isn't a standard alphabet, though I do sell one. And some tips and tricks on how to get these splatters and shapes and stuff, but there's also this very expensive one, but the problem is it's right so big. Yeah, look at that. But it writes way more splattery. This time I'll add an I. Nope, I didn't add an I. I can't spell today. I believe it is being demonstrated. So that's 3 tiers of it. That's your modified Blackletter. This is your folded pen. And then this is your handwritten Mick. This is the one I bought, and I think it is pretty cool. You can get some really crazy shapes. So what varies is how much surface area is on the paper. Getting slightly, imagine my finger's the paper, and it's just kind of touching more and less per stroke. That is a ruling pen. It adjusts based on surface area and speed. That changes the stroke. So speed usually adds the flex, and also how textured your paper is. That also adjusts the strokes. Okay, let's go on to my favorite. Lastly, but certainly not least, is Blackletter. To be specific, Blackletter is a category of scripts, but is written with a broad edge pen. Broad edge pen is exactly what you think. It is a wide nib, so you can kind of, based on your pen angle, you can get different kinds of strokes. Most scripts, not all, but most scripts have you keep a stationary angle of, let's say 45 degrees. You hold your pen there and you do not change that pen angle. But as long as you keep the same pen angle, but you change your stroke direction, you get different shapes. And that allows you to make different shapes. So that's a G. Like if I want to do an I, there you go. You can also do fun things like tilting, which allows you to dynamically adjust the thickness as you go. And twisting, which is adjusting the stroke from thick to thin in a different way. I don't know what letter this is, but it looks cool. So that is Blackletter. The Pilot Parallel is by far my favorite and the easiest to get into. It's just cartridge fed, or if you get your own ink, you can refill it and get better value. And 6mm is my favorite. I only have 4 types, 4 different thicknesses. But they have another 2 different ones. I think the best bang for your buck if you're buying one is the 3.8mm. There are many premium options from the automatic pen series. Again, bit more expensive, but has very unique broad edge styles. Some very cool strokes there. That's like the automatic pen. But if you want free stuff, as I'm always a proponent of, 2 pencils, elastic together, maintaining that angle, as many people on my channel have already seen. You can get the same style of broad edge, and you just gotta color it in afterwards. But you can try this right now at home if you have 2 pencils and an elastic. Make sure they're sharp. You can write black letter letters. Turkey tail, like I mentioned before. I have a tutorial in the link below as well. And if you also have a highlighter has a broad edge. So you can have thick strokes and you can have thin strokes, depending on which direction you go. So lots of free options here. You can even make your own. I have a video about that too. Again, all you need is a cola can, and you can make your own black letter pen. You can make it much smaller than this if you would like, but it works pretty good. It uses a lot of ink though. All right, so that just about does it for today. And yeah, that's my first video in like 3 years, but these things happened. And then, yeah, and then now we're here. So thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. If I missed something, please let me know. Again, everything, there should be a link in the description. I have many kinds of practice sheets that for sale that can teach you everything, even if you're a beginner, on how to learn all 5 types of calligraphy. And yeah, so thank you for watching, and I appreciate your patience and sticking around. And yeah, thanks again, and take care.